This.
Hello, room 411, please.
Okay, let's move to.
Hello, I'm
agenda
gonna put you on
item number
speakerphone.
4.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, Councilperson Peck is present.
Approval of the consent agenda, council minutes of September 21st, 2022, receiving and filing the minutes from September 27th, 2022, meeting the Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received. Questions on those? If not, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of September 21, the meeting, library meeting, September 27, and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Passes 5-0. Agenda item number 5 is residents' comments. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please address all comments to the entire city council. This is not a time to address individuals on the council or time for a debate. Please address the council with respect and courtesy. Council, this is a time for you to listen to the ideas and information our residents are bringing to our attention. I also remind the council this is not a time for debate. Make all questions to the citizens as informational in nature as possible. And I remind the council to please address the public with respect and courtesy that all city residents deserve. That being said, are there any residents who want to come forward? Okay, move to agenda item number 6, a report from Belle Plaine Community Development. I guess, Teresa, you must have that. Okay,
You want me to go to the podium? or-
yeah, if you would.
I'm Teresa Hermson, and I'm on the Christmas committee for our holiday homecoming coming up November 26th. I'm basically in charge of coming up with some new ideas for the lighting for downtown. And one of the ideas that we're exploring and would like to present to the council another time, possibly to help finance this lighting idea. What we're looking at is the trees have gotten so a little bit bigger downtown, that something to give a little extra wow factor. So we're looking at up lighting right now and do some of our the buildings and stuff, and bringing some more light downtown. So that's what we're looking at right now. We've got some on their way from our electrical company. I think those to make them work or plug in into the lamps that we have in town right now. So I don't have things, and at that time, if it does, we would put a proposal together with a total amount and then re-present it to the council for permission for the city to take the expense of that for us. I need to have a parade and some, Santa's workshop and shop, small, all that, similar to what we've done in the past. So,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
okay.
Steve, any wiggle room in the local option sales tax budget?
I'll have to work with Sandy on that tomorrow.
Why don't you start looking there? What do we spend on lighting snowflakes?
They were
Like 800 a piece.
something like,
Bought 3 or 4 of them. We'll see what we do on that.
So you guys looking at about $1,400.
That's just a
Ballpark, right?
Ballpark, very ballpark. And that's if we just start in the corners. If they really look nice, since our downtown's so dark, we'd love to put maybe a couple in the middle of the block to stand on the buildings. Would really lighten up everything downtown. We'll see how nice they look and how professional they look. The ones I ordered actually were thinking clear, but they also will do color. So for Christmas, we could do maybe red up lighting at Christmas. We could do blue at 4th of July, something kind of fun.
Would these be permanently placed or would they be temporarily for the holiday or
I-
time?
I think we're leaning towards permanently placed. They will still be plug-in. They can be hardwired into something, but we don't have that, worked in that way. So the easiest thing would be to put a plug-in on them. I talked to Al about it. And then we could plug them in like we did the Christmas lights. We'd have everything in place for that, for an extra plug-in, so we would do that. So I think permanently, because I think year-round, the clear would be really nice just for lighting downtown in general all the time. And maybe at Christmas, that red would bring it up to a different look then.
Okay.
Red or green or whatever, He said there's like millions of colors that we could come up on that lighting thing, so.
Okay.
So yeah, I think permanent would be fun.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you, Teresa.
all righty, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Speaking of that, we took 6 Christmas wreaths to the body shop to have them fixed. And here's my next question. Where do we get a Christmas tree this year?
Where did we get one last year?
Some farmer out in the country gave us one. We had to go cut it. Usually the nursery, do you want to contact the nursery and see if they've got one?
Last year, the nursery provided it. The year before, we
Last
had
year you on
David
Highway
Street.
21.
Excuse me?
Nursery is always provided in most years.
Yeah,
For the
Donated.
derecho, all right. Contact the nursery then. Yeah, no Christmas tree, watch that start a riot. Okay, let's go to reviewing the water supply engineering report from Veenstra. Our engineers want to come up here.
Could you please hand me Mary's agenda? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Introduce yourself and,
My name's Chris Greensick. I'm an engineer with Veenstra and Kemp, and I'm helping work on this report and this presentation. So all of that in a copy of some slides. And you received a copy of the revised report also earlier, so that's, they're both, this relates to that. So this is water evaluation for the whole water distribution system, drinking water system for the city. The evaluation expanded a little bit since last time we spoke to include the entire water distribution system evaluation and details of different assets within the system. We're resubmitting, we've already submitted a draft preliminary engineering report, or PER, to the USDA for consideration. They've gotten comments back, and so we've revised and updated the report based on the comments.
Is that what this is?
That's what that is, yep. There's also the next, along with that, while the revised PER is being looked at by the USDA, once submitted, there's also an online component for the application. It's all done online. So we spoke with the USDA, and the city clerk is the primary contact or operator for that online application. They request others to be allowed to complete that. So, and if I understand correctly, the last council meeting, it was approved that the mayor could sign off on that application when it was completed. So, interview. The main objective of the project is really consistent available water during droughts and floods, current and future water quality, meeting future regulatory requirements. They're always getting more and not fewer. PFAS would be one that's coming down the road that most people are knowledgeable about. And then decrease the amount of unaccounted or unbilled water for the system. We'll get into some numbers on that. On page 3. So water quality and quantity is really what this report is going after specifically. Currently, I looked through all my notes, so I'm hoping I got this finally pinned down correctly. Wells 1 and 3 can actually not be run in tandem together because the nitrate levels exceed the MCLs or maximum contaminant levels for that. I'll call it pollutant. In this case, well 5 is out of service and is actually quite expensive to maintain. It takes about $20,000 a year to clean it from bioaccumulation of iron and manganese. The well building was also damaged in 2020, and it's never, even once it's cleaned, it's never been a wonderful producer. So looking at the cost to maintain it and what the benefits are, and since it's already out of service, just taking that permanently out of service from the system. Well 6 has, which is your deeper well here in town that's separate from all your alluvial wells on the west side. That's about 313 feet deep. That has significantly different water quality than your alluvial wells, and so that's everyone notices when that one goes in. But that's technically your standby well that's brought in when needed. That building was also damaged during the trade show, but it has been put together so it can be run. So, but it still would be need work if it was to be brought up into permanent production and off of standby. And then historically, 60% of your water is either not billed or associated for use. That is quite high for a system. However, within the last few months, the water system's been working on that, and between adding metering, finding some metering that had been looped around and disconnected and then reconnected again, repairing especially abandoned service line leaks, which are always a bit of a they can really let loose some water and aren't easy to find. And then some main breaks. There's been a notable decrease in the amount of water being pumped on a monthly basis. It's still a little too early. We like a year to really get a good hold on it. But we asked for July numbers from 2022, and it's already based on those numbers and not actually no other known use of water, no fires or anything. It was already down 5% just based on those numbers, finding those leaks and the metering, getting the wastewater treatment online, finding out the pool, maybe had a plumber who bypassed the meter during filling and stuff. That's really helped bring down within a short amount of time the amount of unbilled water, unaccounted for water in the system. So we've actually added that to the report because I talked to the USDA and they were very favorable to that it's already being looked at and taken care of. So in the process. So page 4, were there any questions about anything I've said so far? And I know I'm talking fast, I'm sorry. I'm a fast talker. Okay. On page 4, the project alternatives in the report, we came up with 5. All alternates include a meter replacement program. The age of the water meters in the system's pretty much unknown. They're older and they're definitely on the higher end of their life, 15 to 20 years or more. So they're on the high end. They're out of their design life, most likely, with the vast majority of them. Alternate 1 is drilling 2 additional alluvial wells, and those are ones again on the west side. We're currently 1 through 5 are held. It would keep the, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't hit that. It would also include adding reverse osmosis treatment, and that would take care of your nitrate issue, so you could run wells as needed instead of only certain wells running together. This would include decommissioning well 5 permanently, rebuilding well 6 and keeping that as a standby well, since these alluvial wells wouldn't add a different source of water. You just expand one of your sources, so having another standby, even though it's not great water, it's still there to standby. And the estimated cost for that project is about $5 million. Alternate 2 would be connecting to Poweshiek water, rural water. That would, talking of Poweshiek, that would be 18 miles of 12-inch main that would be required, and that would be an estimated cost of $4.8 million to install.
So they would let us connect without replacing all of the mains and stuff in town, because a nearby town did this and they had to replace everything in town.
This does
Which
not
one?
include
Keystone.
This does not include replacing all the main within the town, but this is very as in this would just get you connected to Poweshiek Water, so there would still need to be, how much would your billing rates be? Usually just on, once you hit rural water, there's just, there's a monthly fee, but you might be looking at different free rate structures than you have currently under the city system. Who would take care of what is also a question. Would you keep some staff in the city would take care of main breaks, or does that all go to Poweshiek Water? Would Poweshiek say you have to, these mains shall be replaced? Those I can't answer. That would be definitely further into the weeds on a contract with them, but just to get attached, it's 4.8 million. So there are a lot of additional questions to getting attached to rural water. I don't want to negate any of those, but just to get attached to them would be 18 miles of 12-inch for that much money. I can definitely ask specific questions if there's, if you want further information regarding that potential alternate, I can definitely request information.
It's probably good to point out too, that last time we were here, we were looking at just providing a main from a much closer location. And in follow-up conversations with them, they felt that it was probably not viable for them to do that. They felt we had to go back to the plant and run a main from there back to here. So that's why the cost has gone up, is that they have reconsidered their position on that initial connection. And as you mentioned, there may be some other factors that play into this once that conversation continues, if it's worth considering. But we felt that it's probably not the preferred option, so we didn't get into a lot of detail on spending a lot of time as far as if they would require all the mains updated in town, what the metering connection would look like, what the billing structure would be, all that. That's all, as Chris mentioned, things that we would talk about later if that was even an option worth considering.
Sometimes it's who does billing can also be one of the things that's figured out. So there's a lot of items with that would need to be hashed out between the city and the rural water. Alternate 3 is drill a Silurian well and have an RO's reverse osmosis. That's what that stands for. Reverse osmosis treatment. It was looked at placing this in a park. Again, a city-owned property was preferred when we spoke last couple times about where to put any new wells instead of buying additional property, since the city's already bought, especially new property around where the alluvial wells currently are. City parks are another place that wells are traditionally put, and it's already city-owned property. So there would be, you would have the 200-foot radius of ownership with what the well placement, we look at for well placement. That you already own that, so that's one of the things the DNR requires. So that you have, I just forgot the word, legal control over 200 feet within
How deep
the well.
would that well be?
That well is about 400 feet deep around here.
In this area, the Silurian is not well mapped. It's not a source that's generally used. This is one that would require a test well to find out the availability and the water quality. And as we get further west from the Iowa City area, you start to see that it's not used as much. We run almost out of the confining layers that are well defined in the Silurian. It's still one that's available according to the Geological Survey forecast, but it isn't widely used in this area because there's such a widely available shallow aquifer that most people would use for agricultural purposes and for drinking water. So in this case, knowing that we've got some issues with nitrates and whatnot, that is a confined aquifer, doesn't have the surface influence, and it's the first one that you would get to below the alluvial aquifer. But again, not having it well mapped in this area is a little bit of a disadvantage because there isn't a lot of comparable wells in that aquifer that we can go off of. But yeah, if you look at western Johnson County, getting into Iowa County, in that general area, we're in that 500 feet, 450 to 500. It starts to get deeper as we move west, and just not real good information in this area. So that one, while we've got it listed, is one that probably has an asterisk by it because it isn't very well developed as far as the water supply in this area.
And since that would be a separate water source from the 2 you currently have, this would allow you to decommission 6 and just get it off the table and not worry about the water quality there. So you'd still maintain 2 different water sources. one deep well in the alluvials. And so that would help break up just having one water source. You could potentially get rid of well 6, and that's what we have in that alternate to get rid of it. The estimated cost for that is $4.2 million. Alternate 4 is extremely similar to alternate 3. The only difference is that it's a deeper well going into the Jordan Aquifer, which is underneath the Silurian, so it's deeper, so it costs more to drill it, and then you also need just bigger pumps to bring the water up. But that would also be treated with reverse osmosis. And the difference in price is really because it's a deeper well, so it's $5.7 million for that one.
That one's a pretty reliable aquifer, pretty much throughout the state. You can get into western Iowa and they tap that aquifer, but it drops in elevation pretty quickly as you move west. That one does have a little bit of a, I would say, poor water quality. And when I say that, I mean it's an older water, it's a deeper aquifer, it's been in contact with the formation for a lot longer, so you tend to have a little bit higher dissolved solids and some of the other mineral deposits and whatnot that come with the water. So it's not as high quality as you would get with the shallower aquifers in general.
How would that water compare to what we're currently getting from 6?
It's better than what we're getting from
It's better.
6, yes. 6 is unusually high. It's much worse than what we've seen. For example, if you look at some of the Jordan wells in the nearby communities, some of those will even just pump with chlorination into the system. They don't treat it. They just rely on in-home water softeners to reduce the hardness. There's some that have a little bit of a taste or odor issue that are associated with it just because it's a groundwater that's in contact with a rock formation. But it's a reliable aquifer. It's used even in the Des Moines area pretty extensively. As you go west, it's available, but it starts to get pretty deep, and there are some shallower aquifers that are generally tapped as you go west of Des Moines.
Okay, thank you.
And then the final alternate we had in the report is alternate 5, which is rehabilitate well 6 and to take it off its standby status and actually make it a true production well. And that would be treatment. We were looking at reverse osmosis with this one, but I know it's been brought up to either do some kind of sand filter. You're having, I'm not sure if it's in place quite yet, but we're having a little study run on some potentially different type of filtration or treatment with that. We've opened that up in the report. It was a question, was reverse osmosis the only thing looked at? It wasn't really, but it was found to be the best in terms of alluvial wells with the nitrate issue. RO takes care of your nitrate issue, where something like granular activated carbon or green sand filters do not. So that wouldn't take care of one of your primary concerns with treating that water. Also PFAS, that's more on your granular activated carbon or your RO systems and not necessarily your green sand. So it comes into what you're looking at as what you're looking at to treat as to what option. RO is pretty, can take care of a lot of different issues because it's really basically stripping. That kind of treatment almost strips everything out of the water column. You don't treat everything you're pumped, you actually only treat part of it through your reverse osmosis system, and then you blend it in with the rest of the water. So you're looking at bringing it down so you meet all your requirements for MCLs or maximum contaminant limits or taste odor issues, anything like that. So Steve Beck did talk to the landowner to the north and said, yeah, that was available space for purchase. It's West Jordan well water compared to well 6 water. It's better. Well 6 water treated is better than raw well 6 water, but it's not going to be like, it's not going to probably be, there's only so much the treatment can do with that water to bring it up. It'll be better. It'll most likely taste better. It won't be as hard, probably, depending on the treatment, but you're not going to get like great water. It's just going to be better water. So that's where the 3.7 million, but you're not going to get Jordan well water. You probably wouldn't even get the Silurian well water, to be honest, in this area. And you wouldn't definitely get your alluvial well water. It would just be better than well 6 that you currently have. Where every single community water service, your CWS, is what they're.
This area, you're somewhere in the 500 to 100 gallon per minute range. So you would be able to provide what you need with that well alone and have the others stand by. But you look at cost of operation, it may not make sense to rely solely on that just because of the cost to produce the water. You may want to rely on your shallower wells and Bend and keep that one operational just